These innocent steps can turn into the biggest monster, but that's all in your mind. Steps are fine. It's not the nature of the step. It's not because the step is this or is that. Stop and rationalize things and look at how little kids are using the same steps as adults. And of course, for them, the respective height that they need to get their little knee and foot up, get on that step, is proportionately a lot more than the adult using the same step, but they do it without the fear because they haven't learned to fear the step. To them, it's often an adventure. The adults, using the same steps that many of us have issues and difficulties with, they have the flexing postural ability to do the things that are now complicated for us. And it comes down to just that. How much we're able to relax our posture and get our flexing posture to stay that way while we go up or down the steps, and how much we can keep our foot flexing and hold our posture in the appropriate position. And of course, it's going up the hill or going down the hill in addition to coming up onto the step or down off the step. But remember, with that bit of a hill, you now have little flat floors cut into the hill. So you're pushing to go up this step just as you are to go up the hill. But here, this changes because you're not on that hill anymore. Now you're on a flat floor at this higher level. That's the only difference here. And then coming down, you're not staying on that hill. You're here on another flat floor. So little flat floor is the big determining factor. Now this step, both of these, they're pretty wide. And my 10.5 shoe, you can see there I'm on the back edge with my heel, and I still have room out the front, so I can easily get all of my foot on that step. So with that, I don't have to be as refined or precise with my foot placement. But what allows us to have that precision of control with the advancing foot? Well, it's the other foot. The other foot that's doing the pushing that we're supporting our body on, that controls the movement and controls how much we're able to determine where that foot comes down. So as long as we're stable back here on this foot and pushing, posture stay the same, we're relaxed, then I have time to put this foot right where it needs to be, and it will be right where it needs to be. When I have that balance and stability, all of that control, the postural setup, controlling it on the ball area, toes, that one foot, and then transfer the body weight and come up, and coming down, it's the same thing. I don't have to be way out here on the edge of that step. I can be back here. And coming down, it's the same thing. The same control. This foot that you're standing on, supporting yourself with, into the next stride forward and lowering yourself down on the next step, it's all the same exact control. Where this foot is going to go down there is determined by the foot that you're using and the foot and the leg that you're using to control that movement and control your posture. So the precision of the control here is that one foot that's held back, that is then lowering you back down to that next step. Yes, you have to be more precise with that because the little flat floor is not as big as the big flat floor. When we are coming down the step, that is a more complicated movement, very complex movement, for all the reasons we talked about in the last video. And many people with these restrictive postures have an issue with hitting the top of the step or hitting the bottom edge or the front edge of the step here with her heel. When that heel hits the back edge of the step, then when they're coming down, their foot is often at an angle, and if they put weight into it, that pushes them even further forward, and down they go, or saving themselves on the rail. What causes that? What causes your foot not to clear that step? It's that pushing foot not flexing and not pushing the body forward enough so the heel of that foot, of the advancing foot, it doesn't clear the top of the step or the front edge of the step. What's the cure? Well, it's shoulders forward and doing everything that we've been talking about correctly. And here, it's exaggerate this a little bit and exaggerate these shoulders forward a little bit. And this flexing foot will push that forward foot beyond that step. And right there, you can see I would be on that next step if there was another one here. Especially that size of a step, I would be right in the center of it. So that push that I had there was spot on. Many people worry about that because of all the postural issues that we have, and it's because of the way our foot comes down onto the floor. When our posture is shoulders back a little bit, then as we come forward, did you hear and see where the heel of my foot hit that top of the step? Well, if I had not been relaxed, with my shoulders back and the heel hitting there, scraping that, my foot would have landed heavier on that and pushed me forward, accident down the step. Some of you know that you're doing this. Some of you know that you need to take a bigger stride. But many of you will not do it because you are fearful of where that advancing foot is going to come down. Not as much when you're coming up onto the step, but coming down, where that foot's going to hit is too much up here. Too much fear that it's not going to fit on the step, that it's going to be in the wrong position on the step. How do you correct all that? All the basic stuff. Same. If you want your foot to be where it's supposed to be, allow your body to place it. Now, as I'm taking these strides down off this step, let's see where that foot or how this foot comes down on the floor. What part came down on the floor first? It was the ball area of my foot. In fact, when I came forward, my heel had just barely touched the floor. And that, my friends, is how most people with natural ability will come down the steps. And the same thing of going up the steps. They will stay on the forward part of their foot. So when they are placing their foot on the next step, they're not placing the entire foot on the step like many people with a restrictive posture do. We're putting and trying to support ourselves with the entire foot. So we need a bigger space. So we like these bigger steps because we can get all of our foot on there. They can do these shorter steps, and I admit they can be very problematic for us because we can't get our entire foot on there. So how can they get their entire foot on there? They're going up and down the steps on the ball area of their foot, almost exclusively. We are using our entire foot. This is issue number one. Issue number two is we are also coming down heel heavy. We are also coming down with those shoulders back, which creates that heel heavy stride. And there is the problem. We push up here, but then we're on this heel, we're pushing ourselves back. So to get up, many people are hanging on to the rail and pulling themselves up with their upper body. But they're not correcting their posture. They're still back here on their heels. So when they come, they're getting that foot. See where it's at? It's right at the edge of the front of that step. Many of you are having this problem. You're coming back here on your heels, and this foot, there again, I hit the top edge of that step. Every time you feel your heel touch the step you're coming off of, every time it scrapes down the front edge of it and gets stuck at an angle, that is telling you, it's reminding you, hey, wake up. Your shoulders are too far back. You're on your heel. Your foot's not flexing enough. You're not pushing yourself forward into the next stride to come down there in the step. It's a postural issue. It's a pushing foot flexing issue. And those things you can correct. But admittedly, coming down the steps to do that is tough for a lot of different reasons. Some days you'll be, oh man, I'm good. Other days, not so great. But every time that happens, that's a reminder for you. You must bring those shoulders a little bit forward. But many of you will try that and you'll say, Doc, whoa, no. I am not going to do that anymore because every time I do, I'm falling forward. I'm having to catch myself on the rail, holding on for dear life because I've almost pushed myself forward down the step. So what causes that? Well, everything we've just talked about causes that. Except we haven't talked about this, the straight knees. And remember, the first biggest problem you're going to have with all of your movements with these restricted postures is knees. They won't want to flex or they won't want to stay flexed. Second biggest problem, do you remember what it was? What it is? Shoulders. They don't want to come forward, they don't want to stay forward. And this is exaggerated on these steps, especially when you're coming down. So not only are you going to have your shoulders back because you're afraid of coming down that step, you're also going to have with this restricted posture these guarded, straight, and sometimes stiffened knees. So when you correct just these shoulders and these knees are still stiff and straight, yeah, you're going to be out there too far on the ball and toes of your feet. And then when you try to take that stride forward, you will be pushing yourself too far forward. And with these knees back here too straight and locked up, you're not going to be able to control that well. And yes, you will be tipping forward too far. And your foot, your advancing foot, will not be where you expect it to be. Because your relaxed body is not there to take it to where it needs to be. So you must work on shoulders forward, but also flexing knees. Now, if I keep my knees straight, shoulders forward, I'm tipping. You don't like that, and that's going to cause you to stiffen up even more, bring the shoulders back so you don't step. Now, with everything stiff and locked up, what happens? What did I do? Well, it's lifting the shoulders up to help you down. And you'll see that time and time again. So what does that do? It only complicates the movement. it only gets these shoulders higher up, further back, stealing the important pressure off your feet, getting these knees straight, and it creates more of a problem. Everything needs to be forward, everything needs to be flexing. Here, again, straight, stiff, doesn't work very well. Now with that, admittedly, I'm flexing a little bit as I'm coming off that step because I don't want to fall a bunch of hole in the wall and other types of things, hurt myself. But others of you will not. If you can control your posture, by that I mean if you can relax it more. If you can remember shoulders forward, knees down, squatting, you need to be in an exaggerated ready stance. I mean lower into that. Coming up onto the step as you're practicing this, many of you will have the issue of where you're fading back when you come onto this one foot, and you'll be back here. Well, how do you set that foot on this first step so you can get up onto it without pushing yourself back or pushing yourself off of it? Well, get this foot up there, put the rail with your hand or not, and now push this knee forward and shoulders forward until this foot flattens out. And what's happening with that back foot? It's flexing, the heel comes up, the push, and now here you're pushing into this foot to come up. Get this knee and shoulder lined up and push, push, push. That's the position you need to be in and stay in as you continue walking up the steps. What about going down the steps? Same thing. Only you don't want this pressure back on your heel. You want it towards the ball of your foot. So as you get better, get that pressure towards the ball of your foot here and come up, and then you're ready to go right back down. Whoa! The posture going up the step. The pressure in the feet, in the foot that you're using to go up the step is the exact same posture and pressure that you use for going down the step. This blows some of your minds. This doesn't sound right to many of you. And this is contrary to many of the things that you've been taught about this, about what you've been warned about with people that don't realize what the natural process is here. And I'm not slamming anybody in particular. I'm just stating the obvious. This is taking a forward stride, going up and going down. You still have to have the pressure on the ball and toe areas of your feet. The posture you have here to go up, same thing coming down. The difference is for those people that are going up okay, but coming down is a real bitch, it's because they've changed their posture because of all the complex stuff that goes along with stepping down, lowering yourself down with this knee. So if you have better control of these knees, if they're flexing more, of course you're going to have better posture control everywhere, and this centering on the ball and toes areas of your feet is not going to be such an issue. You're going to have better strength. Well, and then going down the step is not a big issue. Having the foot come down on the step is not a big issue because you're controlling everything. But again, whoa, it's the same posture. I need that pressure in the ball area of my foot. So if it's not there when you put this foot up there, move forward, pushing this back foot, using your hand on the handrail if you need to, but get this pressure where it needs to be. And that's where you keep it. And then whether you're going up to the next step, or taking a step down, or taking a step forward on this flat floor, your posture is right where it needs to be. It's not that you need to do something different on the steps. It is, you need to keep doing the exact same thing you're doing with all this other stuff, but you need to have it better. here. It needs to be a little more refined. It needs to be a little bit more controlled. It needs to be a lot more controlled, actually. And you have to have a more relaxing posture. Your weight transfers from foot to foot need to be more accurate. You need to be using this front area of the foot better than you have been before, meaning your foot needs to be flexing more than it was before. That is how you get away from being afraid of these steps. Guaranteed, no matter how much better you get on these. And I'm doing pretty good here today. And no handrail. But like I said before in the other video, if the handrail's there, most of the time I'll have my hand up. But it will be moving freely on it, and I will be using all the things that we're talking about here. But there are days when I still have issues with shoulders back too far, heel pressure, hitting the back of the step. But it's not a scary thing, it's a reminder when you do that. So what do many of you need to do to move into the not so scary phase of it? What can you do to make this, to tame it down just a little bit? And what I'm leading into here is, now when I'm doing these steps, let me bring this one back over here. When I'm doing these steps here, I'm coming straight up, and then I'm coming straight forward down. For many people with these restrictive postures, that is a scary thing for them to do for all the issues that we've been talking about. Until you become comfortable with taking that forward stride off the step, even onto the step, a solution that you can use is do it at an angle. That way, instead of using the length of your foot, that's a little more difficult to control for the reasons that we've talked about in previous videos and in the book as well. You'll be using the width of the foot. You'll be stepping sideways, which is a little bit more stabilizing than stepping forward. So use that for coming up the step. You can come up at an angle. And then, if you need to, you can even position yourself a little bit. Coming off at like a 45 makes it a little bit easier. Start at an angle. Stay at an angle. That is a little bit more stabilizing because you can use more of your foot and you're doing it sideways instead of forward. And also, look at my feet as opposed to the step and where they're at. An issue that some people will get into, they will try to do this sideways, and they're on the rail this way. But then when they come down with this foot, many times it's difficult for them to then place this other foot. And they do that step that I just did there. Many times they're so close with the foot that's down on the lower step, they don't have room for the other foot to go, so they're in a pickle to where to put that. So instead of going down at a just 90 degrees sideways stride, do it at an angle, like a 45. So then you have more room for your feet on those steps. You can do that with a rail, the handrail, and help you come down. You can do one step at a time. So many of you need to do that. You need to do that side stepping at an angle to help you get over some of the scary parts, to help you learn how to trust yourself a little bit more, staying relaxed, and start getting this push a little bit stronger with your knees down, shoulders forward. Yes, even here, it's still a forward stride, but it's more of a side stride because you're coming off at an angle or you're coming off strictly sideward, but it's still a stride. this foot, see, still, I need to bend this knee. I need to be on the front area of that foot. Nothing changes just because it's a step. Again, you just need to be able to do all of what you're learning much better than what you have been doing. More complicated, more complex movement. Everything else is the same. Now, let's get a smaller little flat floor out here. And again, this is the Wii Fit board. As you can see, it's not very tall, and there's the surface area of it. And many of you have this at home, but stepping up onto it is a big problem. So why is this more of a problem? It's because it's smaller. And it's because you were back here on your heels trying to get up here on this board, and then you're back here, you're doing all the exact same stuff. But actually, this is easier. You don't have to come up as high. But the problem is it's smaller, meaning you need to be more precise. You need to have more control to get your foot where it needs to be. Everybody that's having a problem with these, one, they're back here this way, and they're thinking about all these issues, even though in their mind they're not thinking about all these issues. They're thinking about the fear, and it's a step, and they're back here, and it's a problem getting up there. Now, I will admit, when I first got this back, 10 years ago, I had issues getting on that board for the exact same reasons. For the exact same reasons that many of you have. But everything here is the same. You need to have just a little bit more control, better transfer body weight, shoulders forward, to be able to get your foot right there where it needs to be, and then transfer the weight there to get this foot where it needs to be here. And then to adjust your feet, it's just transferring body weight side to side to get your feet where you want them to be. But too many people who are having these difficulties using this board, getting on this board, they're trying to control everything up here. Their stiff shoulder movement, creating more problems. Make these difficult, make them easier. They can be the big monster, the enemy, or they can be the same little things that they are. People that want to use these that have these restrictive postures and all these movement issues. You have a walker. The walker frame will fit around this, and then you can use that to help you get on and off this. And you can also use that while you're using the board itself. That helps quite a bit. You can put a chair in front of it to use that. But be careful. When you're up here and that chair is in front of you, if it's not something very, very sturdy, when you're up here moving around with your shoulders, it's easy to tip that chair. I've seen an individual do that and then break his hip when he fell over to the side. Just getting a little bit too rambunctious, too much shoulder movement, no control over. You'll do that if you're not careful with this. So, shoulders forward, knees. Shoulders forward, knees. Ready stance. Shoulders forward. Keep them forward. Keep them forward. Same stride. Same thing. Same. It's the same posture when I'm walking as it is when I'm stepping up here. Same posture. But as soon as you change it, things go awry. It's not different. They're not scary. You're the one making it that way. So this is something that you're all going to have to work on more than you had all the other stuff. It's something that's going to be with you for all the time that you have these. Even when you get better like I am, you still have some issues with it. But remember, it's not doing things different. It's doing them better, much better, more control, better balance, better transfer of weight, relaxed posture, and being able to use that one foot, especially out here on the front ball area of the feet, to be able to control your posture, body, remove it, and get your foot where it wants to be. And remember, you're not worried about the foot that's in the air. Your concern is back here with the foot that's on the floor, on the step. That's controlling your body, that's controlling your movement. When everything is correct, that forward moving foot is going to be where it needs to be. Work, practice this stuff to get the scary stuff out of your mind. And as that starts to fade away a little bit, this stuff is going to get a little bit better. Use the handrail when you need it. Don't when you don't. Stairs and steps. There's no gremlin. They're not special. You can do better on them than you know. But it's getting all this other stuff down pat. You have that control and ability to negotiate it. Nothing more to it than that.